Welcome to Taste Buds. I'm Debra Eckerling, goal strategist, writer, and foodie. And today I'm speaking with Trisha Pérez Kennealy, owner and culinary educator of the Inn at Hastings Park. Welcome, Trisha.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I love that you do all of the things. So why don't we start there and then we could dive into our mutual love of food and making life better through cooking.
So, I am the owner of the Inn at Hastings Park, which is a very small boutique hotel in Lexington, Massachusetts, which is where the American Revolution started. And it's a very big year for us because it's the 250th anniversary of the beginning of the American Revolution. And it started about 400 yards from my front door. One of the things that I'm really passionate in my capacity as the owner of the Inn is culinary education. So I welcome our guests and offer a variety of cooking lessons throughout the year. Some of them are immersive culinary weekends, some of them are one-off classes. And in addition to all of that, I'm very active on social media. Trisha Pérez Kennealy is, how I'm known on Instagram. I do a lot on TikTok. And what I'm really trying to do is make sure that people realize how important and how accessible, delicious, and nutritious cooking is to everybody.
I love that. And your background is multicultural.
It is. I'm a Puerto Rican Jew. For people of a certain age, I can tell them that I am Juanita Epstein. If you watched Welcome Back, Kotter, I kind of identify with Juan Epstein. But I had the privilege of living in Puerto Rico until I was 12, at which time my family moved to Lexington, Massachusetts, which is where I've chosen to raise my family.
And so you not only do culinary education, which you clearly love, but you get to infuse both of your backgrounds.
I do. I think that both of my backgrounds have had such an influence on what I do professionally at the inn. Both traditions have an incredible diverse culinary traditions, right? And what I love about both my Jewish religion and my Puerto Rican heritage is that they both are inspired by a diversity of experience, whether it's the fact that there are Jews that live all over the world. At this moment, I'm doing this interview from Mexico City, and I'm here representing the region of New England. I'm teaching a cooking class in about 2 hours to some people in the Mexican market to educate them about what it is that we're doing. But everywhere I go, it's sort of infused by these two aspects of my background: the warmth of Puerto Rican hospitality, the diversity of backgrounds that influence what it means to be Puerto Rican. Likewise, the Jews, we've always lived in the diaspora. And whenever I travel, whether it be I've been traveling throughout Europe, if I'm traveling in Latin America, I do always tend to seek out and try to learn a little bit about the Jewish community in those areas. And it's really interesting to see how we've taken our culinary traditions everywhere we go and we spread them. And it sort of infuses and becomes part of that culture.
And where did this love of food come from? Is it from like that same fusion of both of your cultures?
I think it totally is. I mean, the Jewish holidays, our Jewish tradition is so intertwined. What we what we eat and how we celebrate is so tied to agricultural pathways. It's tied to where it is that your family originated from, and everything is so symbolic. Likewise, in Puerto Rico, we spend a lot of time around that table, multi-generational, right? With grandparents, your immediate family, and food is really an important part of the way we spend time together, the way we take care of one another. And so it really is a very natural relationship that I sort of combine both of those parts of who I am. And it really comes through in the way we welcome guests at the inn, the way I teach people to cook, the way I welcome people into my own home.
Do you remember your earliest either food and or cooking memory? And I guess from each or both of your cultures.
Well, it is, I mean, it is quite the mixture, right? I learned I learned how to read and write in English and Spanish simultaneously. So I truly am bilingual. My team, I have put up my management team at the end is predominantly women. They also, some of them, one of them is Jewish, one of them is from Mexico originally, another one is from Puerto Rico. So it's very interesting that in my own team, there's a reflection of that cross cultural dynamic. I have very vivid memories of food as a child. I have a very vivid memory of the first time I remember ordering for myself in a restaurant. I was 3. That's pretty I think I remember a steak, baked potatoes, very, very specific. But I also have very vivid memories of my grandmother's matzo ball soup. I have very vivid memories of being in my grandparents, mi abuela, my grandparents in Puerto Rico, being in their house in Guayanilla and being, having empanadillas, which are meat pies, having arroz con pollo, which is rice and chicken, which my grandmother made with the chicken that her neighbor killed, right? And I don't mean to be for anyone who's vegetarian or vegan. I'm very respectful of and grateful for the food that we eat. So it's so interesting to me. I have this memory of my grandmother saying, Cheo, mátame un gallo, which is basically, Cheo, can I have a chicken? Because I'm going to make asopao or arroz con pollo. Asopao is like a stew, like a gumbo-like stew, and arroz con pollo is rice and chicken. So access to very good quality ingredients at the drop of a hat.
And you are clearly very enthusiastic. How do you get everybody as excited as you are?
The bottom line is, I think people realize when they come to eat at the inn or come to eat at our house that there's a lot of love in what we do. That we take a lot of pride in cooking, and it doesn't mean that it has to be fancy, right? I'm a cordon bleu trained chef. I have both a degree in pastry and cuisine, and the essence of French culinary training is solidly based in really hardcore technique, but using that technique to work with the best available ingredients to actually do as little as possible, right? What you're doing is you're getting the best ingredients possible. You're getting them from the best purveyor that you can find. You're eating vegetables and fruit when they're in season, right? Um, I I hadn't been in Mexico City since I was a child. And so we have had the most amazing culinary experience. And they're getting ready to celebrate Mexican Independence Day. It's September 15th. And there's a very specific dish that is associated with this celebration. And the dish is based on a particular type of walnut, pomegranate, and a pepper that is available, but at its peak in this time. And the dish itself, the colors of the dish represent the colors of the Mexican flag. That's the essence of really celebrating a food path, right? You're celebrating the harvest, which we do in the Jewish tradition all the time, right? If you think about the foods that are associated with certain holidays, it has to do with what was available at that time. And sometimes people don't realize Judaism is an incredibly practical religion. And I am really interested in all of those food pathways. So I think the reason people get excited is because I am excited about it. I truly am interested in sharing what I've learned with other people so they can adapt it to whatever works for them. Just because I do it this way, I can inspire you to do it in a way that works for you and your family.
I love that. So thank you so much for saying that. It is that time of the high holidays. So what are your tips for people to either fancy up or stress less or just really embrace when they're entertaining?
I think that those ideas can actually work really hand in hand. I also often think that the most elegant things are they're very simple and straightforward. Again, using the best of what you have available. So I am a big believer that everyone should know how to make chicken soup, right? Because it's the base, like chicken stock can be used to do so many different things. It really is good for you. I'm also the chairman of the board, the Friedman School of Nutrition at Tufts. So food as medicine is really important to me. So any of those bone-based broths actually are incredibly medicinal, right? So this is a life skill, learning how to make chicken stock, chicken soup. So my matzo balls, the secret to my matzo balls was passed on to me from my grandmother. I use chicken fat and seltzer. I make, people have their floaters and sinkers. Mine are very, very light. And that's the secret to mine. My chicken soup is, it's very clean, right? I saute celery, onions, carrots, leeks. I also add some parsley and cilantro, you know, freshly chopped, and I add it at the end. It adds color, some really nice brightness to it. And I just think that that's a recipe that people should have. The addition of the mofongo is a very traditional Puerto Rican dish. And it traditionally is made with a pork crackling, but you can make it with a chicken crackling as well. So basically, you fry the mofongo, plantain. It's a plantain, a green plantain. You fry it and then you mash it with hot oil and garlic. You can mold it. We usually serve it in a mold. And in Puerto Rico, it's sometimes served with caldo de pollo, which is chicken broth. So I kind of made little mofongo balls along with my matzo balls. So it's a very interesting juxtaposition of my Puerto Rican background, my Puerto Rican heritage, and my religious background.
I love that. And that is the recipe. If you go to jewishjournal.com/podcast, you will get this amazing, really twisty, fusiony chicken soup recipe. And I'm with you. I am a former non-cook. So if the Instant Pot was my gateway appliance, then soup was my gateway recipe because that's like the easiest thing that you can make. But there's nothing that beats the smell of chicken soup in the house. Am I right?
Well, I just think that it's really, I think it smells good because it's really good for you, right? Any of those bone-based broths really do provide nutritional value, right? And that's another one of my passions, this whole thing, my experience as the chairman of the board of advisors at the Friedman School of Nutrition. I am really interested in that intersection of food as medicine. I am such a firm believer that nutrition is the gateway to so many things. It smells good because we want you to eat it.
Again, more logic, more
Right?
practicality. I love that.
Yes. It all kind of works together. There are very few things in this world. I love stinky cheeses, right? They're probably the only thing that don't quite smell right, but actually are really good. But most things, there's a reason why all of your senses work together to say, you want that, you don't want that.
Yes, that makes complete sense. What other either holiday cooking tips or even what are some of your high holiday traditions?
So we have been really lucky. We have a very tight group of friends that I call friends that are like family. So we have some different families that we celebrate the holidays with. And I often am the maker of the matzo balls and the matzo balls. So when I make soup sometimes, I think the biggest group, it might have been like matzo ball soup for 40. So the key is planning ahead. I always like to make my chicken soup a few days ahead. And then what I'll do is it's also good to make the batter for your matzo balls. You want to give it a little bit of time to come together and rest. I also, very big ice cream scoopers to shape your matzo balls. They make perfect, evenly sized matzo balls, right? I remember my grandmother like using a spoon or using her hands. I love being able to do things that are consistent. So that ice cream scoop, that makes a big difference. And again, I like recipes that I can sort of make ahead of time. So that Instapot, thinking about, you think about people have their brisket recipe or they have, a really popular one. I like, old recipe, the chicken marbella recipe from the Silver Palette cookbook. I always make it with apricots instead of prunes. It's a fabulous recipe. You can make it ahead. It tastes better. It heats wonderfully. You could serve it at room temperature, right? Which also is a consideration, if you're observant and you don't really want, you want things that you don't have to be cooking. Observant. And when I say that, I mean, if you don't use electricity or you don't turn things on and off on Shabbat or on Yom Tov. So I love recipes like that. They're flavorful. You can make them ahead. They're colorful. That kind of hits all the marks for me. And again, I like to keep it simple. So I'll have like a roasted vegetable. I'll have, some sort of kugel. I like a savory kugel. And then I'll have something like a chicken marbella or a brisket dish that has a sauce already as part of it. Can put it all in the oven. Everything's already at the same time. And I'm not stressing. And most importantly, because the whole purpose of the holiday is for us to spend time with our friends and family. And I can sit down and enjoy the holiday meal with everyone. And I'm not running around. I'm actually spending time with the people that I love and care about.
Mhm. Which is the point. Exactly. Do you have any final food for thought about, well, anything?
Well, again, too, like, let's remember too that the high holidays always come around the harvest. So there's so many beautiful vegetables that you could be incorporating. And the other thing that I always like to teach people is to cook the rainbow. Try to get as many of those colors in the menu that you're preparing. The more color you have in those meals, the more nutrient, the more nutritious that meal is going to be. It also makes the table really pretty, right? So I'm very big on multitasking, right? I'm cooking beautiful food so my table looks really pretty. I'm cooking beautiful food because I'm increasing the nutritional content. I'm cooking this beautiful colorful food that's made with recently harvested vegetables because it's actually going to taste delicious.
There you go, being practical and multitasking again. I love it. So many people. Uh, Thank you so much, Trisha Pérez Kennealy, for joining me. Where can people learn more about you and get more of the you experience in their cooking life?
Well, they can follow me on Instagram at Trisha Pérez Kennealy, similarly on TikTok. We'd love to have people come and visit us at the Inn at Hastings Park. You can also check us out on Instagram. We actually, throughout the year, do a variety of programming. We'll have a special menu for Rosh Hashanah. We'll do stuff for Hanukkah. We, always have Hamantash at Purim. We have a special menu for Passover. So I really also like to celebrate that tradition at the inn. And of course, people can come and visit me in person and take classes with me at the inn at Hastings.
Awesome. Okay, so I have to ask, I mean, we love our matzo ball soup, but what are your top three Jewish and or fusion foods that you like to eat and or cook?
So I talked about the matzo ball soup. I also make a mean latke. They make really good potato latkes, and I love them. I also, for Hanukkah, really like to make sufganiyot, but I like to fill my sufganiyot with guava jelly.
So what's the secret to loving food and cooking as much as you do?
I think I grew up with family, grandparents and extended family, that this was our love language, right? This is the way we told each other and continue to tell each other that we care. I'm taking the time to prepare a meal for you, and I'm making time out of my life to sit down with you and break bread, share time, and enjoy being together.
It's great to do it during the high holidays or any holiday, but I think really any day is a good day to enjoy food that you love with people you care about.
100% agree.
Thank you again, Trisha, for joining me. Thank you for tuning into Taste Buds with Deb. Don't miss an episode. You can subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and or your favorite podcast platform. And if you go to jewishjournal.com/podcast, you can get the recipes and read the articles that go with each episode. And you can learn more at tastebudswithdeb.com. Until next time, bring on the love, enjoy the food, and bon appetit.